What's going on, everyone? So there's talks about the Los Angeles Lakers kind of waiting around for the Bradley Beal decision. He's expected to be bought out. The Suns are expected, based on reports, to buy him out in the next day or two. Supposedly, Bradley Beal's just kind of weighing his options on kind of figuring out what team does he want to go to, right? There are several teams: the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, just to name a few. The Milwaukee Bucks are kind of the four top teams. If I'm being honest, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Los Angeles Clippers are probably the best place for him because I think that he just would fit in naturally. I think the Bucks would probably be the best because there's questions about like James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard isn't really known as a passer, so can you make those three work? Where I think Bradley Beal slots in perfectly, like boom, you just slot him in. And for Milwaukee, it's like you got rid of Damian Lillard to bring in Miles Turner. Imagine if you replaced Damian Lillard with Bradley Beal at this stage of his career, right? Like, it's just, you kind of balance yourself out. You basically turned, Damian Lillard into Bradley Beal and Miles Turner. It's pretty good turn of events for Milwaukee. So I am curious about that. But the Lakers, again, it makes sense. Kind of want to wait on that buyout option because, if you end up landing Bradley Beal, well, maybe you don't want D'Anthony Melton or, Malcolm Brogdon or some of these other guys that are linked in. Maybe, you kind of go a different direction. Maybe you kind of push your chips all in a little bit more to go get an Andrew Wiggins stuff because you're kind of like, we got Bradley Beal, got LeBron James. All right, let's just try to make a play for it type thing. But in that same breath, right, Lakers are being patient. They're going to continue to be patient. I've talked about how we as fan base need to try to be patient. I know it's hard. Right? I get frustrated at times too, watching these other teams make moves and whatnot. But the Lakers have so many needs and so limited assets in order to solve said needs. Right? And every day you're hearing new players potentially on the buyout market. Right? Nikola Vucevic is one that recently was thrown out there by Evan Sinery that was like, hey, Chicago, they've been trying to trade him. If he can't get traded in the next month, they might end up buying him out. If you can land Nikola Vucevic, why would you go trade for a backup center, right? When you could just get one for free and now use your assets to solve other needs. The Washington Wizards are expected to buy guys out. Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton are kind of the two names floating around in that regard, right? Maybe even both of them. What if they do end up waiving them, right? Well, if you could get a Marcus Smart for free, well, then do you really want D'Anthony Melton and, potentially a Malcolm Brogdon? Or do you go with the Marcus Smart, right? So that could change things rather than you jumping the gun, right? Chris Middleton, right? If you could go and land a Chris Middleton, do you maybe go trade for an Andrew Wiggins now? And let's say you do. Let's say you do want to still trade for an Andrew Wiggins because I would. Chris Middleton's injury history is a concern, but let's say you go and still trade for an Andrew Wiggins, right? Well, now you have that leverage point to where you can go to Miami, and it's not this place of desperation anymore. It's like, hey, we still want Andrew Wiggins. We would still love Andrew Wiggins. But if you don't want to give him to us at our price, it's fine. We'll just ride with Chris Middleton. And you could slot Chris Middleton at the 3. I mean, you can make an argument to go get Andrew Wiggins and just start both, right? Go Luka, Wiggins, Middleton, LeBron, and DeAndre Ayton, right? That could be pretty nice, right? So to me, I kind of look at the situation, and it might be in the Lakers' best interest to kind of be patient. Right? We're 3 months out from training camp. We have a lot of time. A lot of teams, hey, you want this guy now? It's going to cost you. But in a month, it might be half, if not a quarter of the price. Great example that I've used in the past is like the Utah trade that the Lakers eventually ended up pulling off. But there were talks about that for like a year. It was like all offseason, everything. And Danny Ainge and Rob Pelinka kept going back and forth. Originally, they wanted the farm. And then it was like, okay, fine, we'll take, because they were like, 2 weeks out from training camp or a month out from training camp. It was like, okay, fine, we'll take, one unprotected first and then a protected first. Right? And then it was like, okay, fine, we'll take, this. And then got like days before training camp. It was like, okay, fine. Tell you what, we'll just do both picks unprotected. And Rob Pelinka just kept staying the course because Jeannie Buss, it's why she vetoed the Buddy Hield to Miles Turner trade, which to this day, I think the Lakers may have had another championship if they had got Miles Turner. That 2023 season, Lakers would have been much better matched up against Denver with Miles Turner and Anthony Davis. So just something to kind of keep in mind. And Buddy Hield and his shooting and stuff. But I digress, right? Point is that I look at what could potentially be. I look at kind of, what's available on the market. And yes, you could argue, one in the hand or two in the bush, but like, who's the guy that's on the market right now that we look at and go, that's the guy that changes the Lakers' fate? None of them, right? Like, there isn't that player on the market. Like, I would love a DeAnthony Melton. I would love an Al Horford, right? You get DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford, those two combined really help kind of bolster the depth and the bench production and all of it. I love that. But it would be better? Nikola Vucevic and Marcus Smart, or Nikola Vucevic and Chris Middleton, right? Like, just saying, right? And that's not counting anybody else that ends up getting bought out. And all these various trades, right? Kevin Love is now expected to get bought out. I don't really want the Lakers to go after Kevin Love, but it's a great example of like what tomorrow could bring. Right? Now another trade ends up happening. Drew Holiday, right? They just fixed or just readjusted the trade. Same thing that the Lakers did with Mark Williams. The Portland Trail Blazers just did with Drew Holiday. So they ended up getting him. There was already reports that Drew Holiday wanted out. There was already reports that Drew Holiday didn't want to be traded to Portland, and he was furious about it. What if he forces and kind of pushes for a buyout, right? Well, all of a sudden, Drew Holiday's on the market. You know who'd be better than anybody that could potentially be available? Drew Holiday. You know what could be better than anything? Like, you never know what tomorrow will bring. And like, if there was that guy, like if Bradley Beal gets bought out, then yes, he's worth the risk. He's worth kind of moving everything over, right? Let's reschedule, rework my calendar to go get that guy, right? Like, he is somebody that's worth it. But like a guy, like if you miss out on DeAnthony Melton, like, does that mean is he the difference between the Lakers winning a championship or not? No. Does he make the Lakers better? Absolutely. Right? It's a step closer. Right? And yes, maybe through the collection of parts, right? DeAnthony Melton, Jake LaRavia, DeAndre Ayton, Lakers go pull off a trade. Now maybe that's the case, and it's like, yeah, DeAnthony Melton was a big piece to that, but he was a piece, not the cherry on top type thing, right? So, and if you lose him, there's other guys, right? It's like, you got Malcolm Brogdon, you got if Marcus Smart gets bought out, Marcus Smart. If Drew Holiday gets bought out, Drew Holiday, right? Like, there's so many different potentials and possibilities that could end up developing. And again, like, DeAnthony Melton isn't rushing, like, teams aren't rushing to go sign him. He's taking his time, he's trying to figure it out. We're waiting on the kind of Bradley Beal situation. Maybe things kind of heat up once the Bradley Beal situation happens. Lakers have to figure out how to clear roster spots and free up the biannual exception, right? Like, Lakers, if you're going to go and sign a Bradley Beal or something like that, you're probably going to have to clear off a roster spot or whatever, so you're probably going to have to make a trade. Now, ideally, I'd like the Lakers not to make a trade, just like, oh, here's whatever, Gabe Vincent and 2 pick swaps for just clearing $11 million. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's more of like, here's fine, we'll give you Dalton Connect. Here's Rui, Gabe, Dalton Connect, and then we'll take Andrew Wiggins, and you clear, $4 or $5 million off your books in that process through that trade. And it's like, now it's justified. Now it's like, okay, we cleared 2 roster spots. We cleared, $5 million off our books, plus we can waive Shake Milton, and then, we can pull off another trade later on to go and fill in the 15th roster spot or get the money for the 15th roster spot. So we can use our biannual exception. We can use a vet minimum, so you bring in Bradley Beal, again, maybe a Nikola Vucevic ends up getting bought out. Boom. So you bring in Bradley Beal, you bring in Nikola Vucevic, you got those 2 guys on top of Andrew Wiggins, right? And it's like, now Lakers are super deep, super competitive. They just got like 2 starting level guys that are going to be in the rotation as backups, right? Like, now the Lakers are cooking and ready to go win an NBA championship. So that patience could pay off. And I talk about it, right? Like, patience is important. Patience is great as long as it pays off, as long as you're rewarded for your patience. Now you look at kind of the situation recently, right? The last, 8 months or whatever, Lakers have been very rewarded for their patience in landing a Luka Doncic, landing a DeAndre Ayton, right? Like, their patience yielded basically potentially two, let's see what happens with DeAndre Ayton, 2 like cornerstone foundation pieces for the next 6 to 8 years. When this time, this time last year, it was like, what are we going to do? Right? Like, Anthony Davis, there's question marks with him. He's aging out. Is he going to be able to be the man after LeBron? How much longer does LeBron play? Like, we're going to go from LeBron James and Anthony Davis to potentially Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton. Right? Like, that's a great spot for the Lakers to be in. And especially if DeAndre Ayton buys in and is that guy, that might end up being potentially the foundation that's able to yield multiple championships, all because Rob Pelinka was patient. Right now, you just got your two franchise cornerstones, the number 1 and number 3 pick in the 2018 draft that can now be your building blocks because you're patient. And then, and I also think, and I've talked about this several times, I really do believe that the buyout market is going to be kind of a new pool. I think you're going to have that, the trades, I think you'll have the free agency, and then you're going to have the buyout market because this is, with the new CBA, this is going to be the norm. This is going to be something that's pretty regular. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.